Hey folks, here are OS Reviews. Today you're watching our video review of the Casio EX-S200. This is a 14.1 megapixel digital point-and-shoot camera with 4x optical zoom, 6x digital zoom, a 2.7-inch display on the very back, and also it comes at a street price of around $100 and comes in 3 color versions, black, blue, and also comes in orange and green. There are a few reasons why you might want to consider the S200. First of all, this is a very sleek, very small, and lightweight camera. At the thinnest points, it measures just 14 millimeters, and at the thickest points, we have 17 millimeters. So compared to some other Casio cameras and cameras from other manufacturers, it's extremely lightweight and easy to use for traveling. The camera also has a 27mm wide-angle lens, which is great for capturing landscape shots. It captures quite a lot of content within one frame, so impressive for those usages. The build quality of the S200 is also top-notch. It comes in polycarbonate and also metal, so you have a pretty satisfying feel when you're using it. The front features a xenon flash, a autofocus sensor, and on the very top, a 2-stage camera shutter key, a zoom-in, zoom-out, power on and off switch, and an LED indicator. On the very bottom, you have access to a tripod stand, the speaker/microphone, and behind the door you have the battery, which is removable, and also a SD card slot, which recognizes up to 64 gigabytes of SD cards. The sides here feature access to a port for charging and also creating video output. And on the very back, you have access to a dedicated button for recording video, a camera mode, and also a 5-way navigation toggle D-pad, and a playback key. EX-S200 is crafted out of tempered glass, which makes it resistant to any scratches and dings. But at the same time, it attracts a lot of fingerprints and isn't really viewable under direct sunlight, which is a downside. Turning the S200 on is also fairly simple. You don't have to tap on the power on and off key every single time. Casio has implemented some smart, quick access launcher features, so you can simply tap on the shutter key on the top or on the camera center key over here, and that will turn the camera on as well. The benefits of having this feature includes if you are out and you want to capture something in the moment, something that needs to be really quickly shot, and you worry that you have to find the power key, simply press on the shutter key and it's automatically going to turn the camera on, then tap on it again to take a very quick image. So it has a very fast reaction rate, which is something that we like. The settings and the menu UI of the S200 is also simple and elegant and easy to use. You can see at default, the camera actually uses 10 megapixels, and you can easily toggle through your settings by tapping on the center key there again, and you can change the resolution, the different sizes of your photographs, all the way down to VGA, so if you want to save on the size on your SD card memory. There's also different modes for flash, from on, off, soft to red eye reduction, and there's also a autofocus from infinity, macro to super macro for really close-up shots. There is also a area focusing mode, so you can tap on different regions on the screen that you want to focus on, face detection for self-portraits, a timer for self-portraits, and finally there are a few more settings you want to go through the advanced settings just to take a look at more closely. So some other interesting tidbits about this particular camera: if I wanted to directly record video, I simply tap on again the video recording key, and I can tap on that once to have a very quick launch shortcut to that. And if I want to take an image or a photograph, I would simply press once to focus, and when the actual box in the center there has turned green, it indicates that I'm ready to take the image. As you can see here, it also shows the focusing mode and how close you are from your subject and what setting it is using. So in this instance, it's a bit blurry, but I'm going to capture the shot anyways, and you can see that the overall experience is not bad at all. The speed of the camera does a pretty respectable job overall, I would say. Sometimes it's a little bit slow to respond in low light situations, but in brighter light, the shots typically take about 1 to 2 seconds to take, which is relatively impressive, again, for the specs and the price of this camera. So pressing on the playback key, the camera also automatically turns itself on, and you can take a look at your shots. The playback interface on the EX-S200 is also fairly elegant. You have access to your time, date information on the bottom, the ISO, the aperture of the lens, and the resolution being used. You can also zoom in and out of your shots fairly quickly and responsively. Now, one of the downsides to the S200 is, ironically, macro shots, because that was one of the features I discussed earlier on. It's one of the things that this camera struggles with. If you are closer than 50 centimeters from your subject, sometimes the shots tend to be a bit more fuzzy, and the edges tend to blur a little bit more. And you'll definitely notice this even if you use it in direct sunlight with flowers and close-up objects in general. But if you're planning on capturing things a bit further away, perhaps 100 centimeters or landscape shots in general, they tend out to be pretty good images that are crisp and the colors are well balanced and saturated quite nicely. So if you want to have a few sample shots to show you guys, you can see I have a flower over here that I captured, and it looks pretty nice. If you upload it to a computer, it also seems relatively accurate, and the colors, again, are well balanced. The edges are crisp, and in the balance between the different light and shadows is also relatively nice. The autofocus mode itself also does a good job of focusing on the correct subjects and blurs out the background if that's something you want to do. And so a lot of different modes that you can kind of play around with if you want some more advanced settings in your digital point-and-shoot camera. Again, this is a pink flower here. You can see the ISO changed to 800. It's fairly accurate and does a pretty good job of doing that. You can also play back your different video clips directly from the camera itself. And again, this is a macro shot, and you can see how the edges are a bit on the fuzzier side of the spectrum. If I play back a video over here, you can see I can tap on the center there, tap on playback start, and the video will start streaming. It does a pretty good job of focusing even if you're playing back your video, and even if you are playing back video, you can also zoom into your shots, which is something that we don't tend to see a lot on other point-and-shoot cameras. It's a feature that I liked. And the microphone on here is a bit tinny. It's slightly weak. It's not very good, but the speaker is slightly better and stronger. It's also in the same place as the microphone. It's not ideal because if you're holding the camera like this, you tend to cover up the microphone and also the speaker. But it does the job for some quick shots. It's not as good as a dedicated camcorder just because there isn't stabilization in the camcorder or video recording department. But overall, a 4GB card can record about 40 minutes or so of video content, so it's feasible, and it's a nice feature to have, I guess, if you do need something, really for emergency purposes there. But the emphasis here is going to be on capturing images and photography. So going back into the camera there, again, you have some pretty fast launching modes. There are two different settings for autofocus by pressing on the auto key there. One is just the generic autofocus mode. This doesn't change too many things. It automatically adjusts the focusing range of your subjects. But if I press on the premium auto mode, what it does is it also changes the scenes. So if I'm in low light situations, it's going to detect that it's a night scene. If I'm out in sunlight, it's going to go back into the daylight scene. But this is a bit more intelligent, and your shots tend to come out a little bit better. But that being said, intelligent auto definitely drains the battery a bit faster. Speaking of, the battery on the S200 is pretty good. Battery life lasted us about, I would say, a week or two before I had to recharge it with moderate usage, and recharging it takes about 3 hours to complete, and if you're using the camera on standby, it's going to last you about 3 weeks before you need to recharge it again. In conclusion, I would say that the S200 is definitely a compelling camera to consider if you do plan on capturing a lot of outdoor shots. The xenon flash is bright even for darker environments, and the ultra wide angle lens on a point-and-shoot camera is a nice feature to have. The device is well made, it's classy to look at, and in general, the performance is excellent as well. There are a few downsides to this camera. For example, the fact that the macro modes are a bit weaker, and also the microphone is a bit weaker for recording video, but in general, we would recommend it with 2 thumbs up. You can check out more details about this in our full written review, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching your OS Reviews. This is the Casio EX-S200 digital point-and-shoot 14 megapixel camera.